Welcome to the realm of generative AI, where artificial intelligence isn't just about learning, it's creating. Let's unlock the secrets of how these digital brains are transforming ideas into reality across art, literature, and technology. First, we'll start with what is machine learning, then we'll talk about what is deep learning, followed by what is LLM. Next, we'll dive into what is generative AI. Moreover, why should you learn generative AI? Moving on, we'll see various generative AI models. Lastly, let's talk about the prejudice and principles in generative artificial intelligence. But before we dive into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button. It's just a click away. Subscribe and join our community of curious minds and bright sparks. Let's start with what is machine learning. Now that we are here in the world of machine learning, where computers learn from data and make decisions and predictions. So what exactly is machine learning? Well, machine learning is an application of AI. Machine learning refers to the branch of science that deals with the ability of computers to learn without explicit programming and instructions. Now let's understand it. Consider how a young child picks out animals. They start connecting the term dog with any dog they see and hear, as you mentioned. Similar concepts underlie in machine learning, but the data is used by computers in place of the language. Machine learning enables a computer system to continue learning and improving on its own, based on experience. Diving into the neural networks, which is an essential part of machine learning. Neural network is a collection of algorithms based on human brain models, are one of a technique to teach a computer to simulate human reasoning. Deep learning via neural networks enables computer to achieve deep intelligence. Because of this intimate relationship, the debate between artificial intelligence and machine learning essentially revolves around how these two fields interact. Machine learning has three types: supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. First, the supervised learning uses labeled data to train models. For the sake of this discussion, labeled data refers to the dataset with input-output pairings, where the model is taught using known outputs. An excellent use of supervised learning is an email spam filter. The machine learning model is trained on a dataset of emails that have been classified as either spam or not spam. With the use of particular phrases, the sender's address, and layout, the model learns to recognize emails that are likely to be a spam. Sorting incoming emails automatically is made possible by its ability to predict, once trained, whether a newly unseen email is a spam or not. In supervised learning, the objective is to train a model to learn input-output mappings and use those mappings to predict the right output for fresh, unknown inputs. Moving on, we'll learn about unsupervised learning. Unsupervised learning is a branch of machine learning that works with unlabeled data, that is, data without clear instructions on how to use it. To learn more about the data itself, unsupervised learning aims to simulate underlying structure or distribution in the data. For an instance, without any prior labeling of the data, unsupervised learning is used in customer grouping to identify several groups or clusters of customers based on their purchasing behavior, preferences, or demographic information. Here, marketing teams can use this to better personalize their marketing efforts by adapting these methods to various client profiles. This method could be used, for instance, by a chain of supermarkets to identify various customer categories and then design offers specifically for them. Lastly, we have the reinforcement learning. Reinforcement learning is a subset of machine learning devoted to decision-making sequences. It allows an algorithm to learn through trial and error with feedback from its own experiences and actions in an interactive environment. Reinforcement learning employs rewards and punishments as signals for positive and negative behavior, as opposed to supervised learning, which depends on labeled datasets to learn. For example, through trial and error, an AI character in a video game can be trained to perform better through the use of reinforcement learning. Depending on what it does, the AI is rewarded or punished. For example, it gains points for destroying the opponents or loses health when struck. The AI eventually learns how to put decisions together in a way that maximizes its score and helps it to accomplish particular game objectives. Using this technique, more complex and intelligent non-player characters that adjust to the player's tactic can be constructed. Next, let's understand what is deep learning. Deep learning, the powerhouse behind much of artificial intelligence you encounter daily. Dive into this interactive exploration of uncovering how deep learning models inspired by the human brain enhance our lives by automating tasks and making intelligent decisions. Well, think of deep learning as a supercharged version of machine learning using multiple layered neural networks similar to complex layers neurons in our brain. These networks handle vast amounts of unstructured data like images and text, making decisions and recognizing patterns at incredible speed. For an instance, look around and identify objects or devices that might use AI. Do you have a voice-activated assistant or perhaps use a streaming service that recommends shows? Well, these are powered by deep learning algorithms that learn from your interactions. Coming to applications of deep learning. Well, deep learning is integral to a range of technologies that impact our everyday lives and futuristic innovation. First, we have the self-driving cars. These vehicles use deep learning to process input from multiple sensors and cameras to navigate safely. Second, we have the generative AI. This technology creates new content from artwork to synthetic voices. Then we have the everyday conveniences, from voice-activated devices that control your home to security systems that recognize faces. Imagine you have a voice-activated device at home. Command it to perform a task like playing music or setting a reminder, and observe how it understands and executes your command. One of the standout features of deep learning is the ability to learn directly from raw data without extensive pre-processing. This means it can automate complex processes such as identifying fraudulent transactions by analyzing spending patterns without human intervention. Machine learning performs prediction and classifications on the new data by utilizing statistical learning algorithms to identifying patterns in the given data. Multi-layered neural networks model are used in deep learning to accomplish complicated tasks. Next, what is LLM? LLMs or large language models, which are enormous, having been trained on enormous volumes of text to understand and produce language in the same way as humans. To process a language, they employ complex architectures known as transformer that consists of parts like encoders and decoders. Consider a challenging phrase or query. Imagine now breaking it into smaller portions, analyzing each one, and then reassembling it to all either provide a response to the query or finish the idea. That's kind of like how LLMs handle text. Moving on to the key functions of large language models. LLMs are versatile powerhouses capable of performing various tasks like sentence completion. They can predict and complete your sentences. Next, in terms of document summarization, they condense long articles into concise summaries. Next, question answering. They provide answers to questions based on the information they have learned. Moving on, language translation. They translate text from one language to another. Lastly, content creation. One of the main features of generative AI is the capacity of LLMs to produce literature that resembles writing by humans. Because of the skill, they may create anything from news stories to poems that the pattern they have learned, which makes them extremely important. Let's say, for example, try rewriting a complex sentence into something simpler or ask a question and see how an LLM could respond. You'll notice how the model attempts to preserve the meaning and context. The way we use search engines and virtual assistants have been changed by the large language models, which make information more accessible and interactions more natural. In case of virtual assistants, LLMs enable them to understand and answer our questions more precisely, wherein search engines, they enhance their comprehension and processing of our search requests. So the next time you use a search engine or virtual assistant, consider the more complex language processing that goes on in the background to make it possible for the devices to easily understand your needs. Now let's begin with what is generative AI. Generative AI is not just reactive but creative, capable of producing new content including text, images, videos, and music. Let's explore how this technology mimics human intelligence and extends its capabilities into areas like image recognition, natural language processing, and many more. Let's examine the ways in which this technology emulates human intellect and expands on it to include picture recognition, natural language processing, and other domains. So machines that use generative AI are able to create ideas and produce content that feels really human. Its highly sophisticated algorithms, known as foundation models, are trained on large, frequently unlabeled datasets to accomplish a wide range of tasks. Consider a brief sentence. Imagine now that machine learning model has the ability to take your statement and turn it into a whole story. Here's an idea of what generative AI can do. So the way generative AI works, in simple terms, generative AI models are highly developed prediction engines. Whether it's the next word in the phrase, the next note in a piece of music, or the next line of code in a software program, they use data analysis to forecast and create the next element in the series. In terms of high processing power, in order to handle complicated mathematical models and large-scale data processing, these models need quite a bit of computational power to run. To understand it better, try using the voice assistant on your smartphone or other AI-capable device to set a reminder. The system that is executing your command is comparable to generative AI's more basic features. Let's talk about the uses of generative AI. Generative AI is applicable to a wide range of areas, not just IT. It's applicable for arts and creativity, poetry writing, and music composition. Also in terms of scientific research, including the modeling of biological processes or chemical molecules. Also in terms of technology development, this includes debugging and automation for programming languages as well. Suppose that you are enhancing client support, perhaps it creates a fresh look of formulated, customized answers to consumer queries. Next, generative AI in businesses. Generative AI has the potential to change the way businesses run by boosting productivity and innovation. When it comes to chatbot for customer support that understands and answers to inquiries with never been seen before clarity. In terms of media production, automating the process of creating material by editing or creating visual effects. Next, in terms of product design, which is the process of conceptualizing new products or improving current ones using AI and insights from customer data. Now, generative AI intersects with numerous fields such as psychology, linguistics, art, and neuroscience. Learning about generative AI can provide valuable insights into human cognition, creativity, and perception, enriching research and application across these disciplines. When it comes to automation and efficiency, generative AI can automate the creation of content that typically requires significant human labor, such as your reports, articles, and marketing materials, thereby increasing efficiency and allowing humans to focus on more strategic activities. Coming to the ethical and social implications, generative AI raises important ethical and social questions regarding authenticity, privacy, copyright, and the potential for misuse, for example, deepfakes. Understanding these technologies can help in navigating societal impacts, regulating their use, and developing ethical guidelines for responsible AI development and use. Now, generative AI models. So basically, there are three types of generative AI models: generative adversarial network, the diffusion model, and variational autoencoders. So first, let's talk about GAN. In the context of deep learning, generative adversarial network or GAN is a fascinating and effective type of neural network topology that allows creation of extremely realistic synthetic data by competing against two neural networks against each other. Let's take a closer look at the operation of GAN and some of their useful applications in different fields. Now, think of the generator and discriminator as two artists. The generator is trying to create a convincing fake painting, while the discriminator is the critic who decides whether the painting is a real or a forgery. The goal is for the generator to become so good that the discriminator can't tell the difference. The goal is for the generator to become so good that the discriminator can't tell the difference. The generator and the discriminator here are the two components of GAN which train simultaneously. The generator learns to produce more accurate and realistic data, whereas the discriminator improves its ability to detect fakes. Next, let's come to uses for GAN. So in terms of image processing, they're able to produce fresh pictures that resemble real shots of people, animal, or scenery. Then in terms of biomedicine, in tests where genuine data may be sensitive or hard to come by, GAN are utilized to create synthetic biological images. Next we have is the diffusion model. So a fascinating development in the field of generative AI are the generative diffusion model, which generate new high-quality data by applying patterns that discover to pre-existing datasets. Let's talk about the operating procedure of diffusion model. That includes starting with noise. So a distribution of random noise is used to initialize the model. Next comes the gradual transformation. So the model turns this noise into data that closely resembles the training set by using a sequence of learning processes. Because these changes are reversible, the model can be trained to produce complex data from noise as well as to extract noise from complex data. Try out this easy drawing practice. Gradually improve your sketching skills until you have a recognizable final product. This is similar to how complexity is added by diffusion models. Third is the variational autoencoders or VAs. So VAs are a powerful class of generative models that merge the principles of autoencoders with probabilistic modeling to handle complex data efficiently. So variational autoencoder is made up of two primary parts. So the encoder and the decoder. So the encoder is the component that condenses the input data into a denser, smaller representation which is known as the latent space. Then the decoder, which uses this compressed form to rebuild the input data, making every effort to closely resemble the original. A probabilistic twist is introduced by the variational part of the VAs, which encodes input data into distribution over the latent space as opposed to the fixed point. This makes it possible to randomly select data samples from the small distribution and create new ones. Now consider presenting a complex issue with a basic diagram that conveys its main ideas. Your diagram serves as your latent space representation, and the way you sketch an object from it and then redraw it, it is similar to how an encoder-decoder works in a VAE. Lastly, let's talk about the prejudice and principles in generative artificial intelligence. So, similar to all machine learning models, generative AI models acquire knowledge from the data that they encounter. These models can replicate and even increase any biases present in the data, whether they are based on gender, ethnicity, or any other identity metrics. Next comes the bias in training data. The fairness of AI models is limited by the data they are trained on. AI results that are biased may be unfair. Next is the representation bias. So AI may ignore or stereotype minorities by primarily reflecting the opinions or cultures of the majority in the training data. Last is the biases associated with identity, gender, and ethnicity. So these biases can lead to biased AI outputs that represent social injustices. Finally, the principles for resolving bias in generative AI. So it is important to follow several values in order to ensure that generative AI serves society in an ethical and good manner. So firstly, equity and fairness. So AI system must treat every person equally, ensuring proactive steps to identify and fix bias in datasets and algorithms. Next comes the explicitness and transparency. In order for people to comprehend and have faith in AI results, AI system must be able to explain decision making and operating processes. Third comes the accountability and responsibility. It is the responsibility of companies and developers to ensure that the AI systems are used ethically. This involves giving significant thought to how AI will affect society. Then we have the diversity and inclusivity. So using a range of data and viewpoints when developing AI guarantees a wider representation and lowers the possibility of biased results. Lastly, the ethical design and governance. So human rights and social values should be given priority while developing and utilizing AI technology.
Are you someone who wants to lead your organization into the future with generative AI at the top? Our exclusive course, Generative AI for Leaders, is crafted for forward-looking professionals who want to move beyond theory and practice real-world Gen AI solutions.
If you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest tech content. Thank you for watching and see you next time.